Hey, it's David. Now, following on from the first crash repairs I did, I've been thinking about it, and it would probably be a good idea just to check that there's no issues with the front fork alignment. Now, I've lost power in the shed, so I'm outside, and it's a little bit chilly given it's now early January. I don't think there's a lot of chance that this is actually distorted. Certainly, I don't think there's any chance at all that the front forks are misaligned in the yokes. These yokes are machined clamps that fit precisely onto these tubes. There's really not a lot of chance they're going to twist, but I'll concede there is a chance that maybe there's a bit of tension been built up into that if it's been hit on the front end, and it did go down hard on the front. There's no damage to the back of the bike at all. Front end went out. It's the front end that took the hit. It would have smacked up against the stops on the bottom yoke, triple trees, depending where you are in the world. So yeah, maybe. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to loosen the clamps on each side, retorque, and then I'm going to loosen off the bottom end and give it a pump up and down. All usual stuff. Just got to remember, because I'm not got it jacked up, I'm going to only do one side at a time on the yokes. So let's get into this. Now I'm just going to run them out, put some anti-seize on them and run them back in and torque them up. And the same for the other side. Right, next we remove the mudguard brace. Interestingly enough, this is the only thing that Suzuki recommend that you actually need to do. What I'm going to do after this, they don't say you need to do, but I like to, so I'm going to do it anyway. Don't actually have to remove this, I don't think, as long as you loosen the nuts off so that things can wobble around, then you should all be good. But given, as I said, this is the one thing that Suzuki think matters when it comes to fork alignment, I'm going to take it off. I take the nuts out anyway because I want to re-grease them. Don't really need to remove these because there's very little resistance between the brake rotors and the calipers, but I'm just going to loosen them off anyway just to make sure there's no binding. Make sure everything is nice and free. So there's no possible way that's going to bind up the actual fork lowers. Now, what I should say with this sort of wheel alignment is that the top yokes here are clamped in with these. So this stanchion is completely tightly clamped with these. What we're really doing with the fork alignment is lining up these fork lowers, which rotate on these such that they're both parallel. What can happen in a crash or something like that is one of these will rotate slightly and it'll kink out the wheel, and the wheel will run at a bit of an angle. the stanchions here don't move. It's this part that could move. So that's all we're doing. Also, the only other thing I need to do here are the pinch bolts for the axle. With these loosened off, don't really actually need to remove the axle at all. You can do it, but I'm not really thinking that the alignment is out, so I'm not going to, because it doesn't actually bind the two halves together. Loosening it does actually very little, because this only screws in to the other side. This is now actually loose and floating on the wheel. You may not be able to see the movement, but I can. So this is now free and on here. So all we need to do now is to bounce the whole thing up and down 5 or 6 times, just to let anything that wants to move and settle into its proper position. And that is all there is to it. Now just tighten it back up again. First thing is just to put the mudguard loosely back in position. Because we don't want to tighten up anything until everything is in place. Hand tighten everything back up and then torque. At the end of the day, this is just a good chance to get into your bike and do some regular maintenance on it. Pull bolts out, grease them, torque them back up. It's part of a normal service routine anyway. And it means that when you do have a problem and you need to take something apart, well, it won't be seized. If it's been 2 years since you last took something apart and you run the bike in the sort of winter, well, you can expect some problems. Okay, these are still nicely copper slipped, so I'm going to leave them alone and just torque them up. Don't forget the fork brace. Job done. Very easy to do, very quick. Even on a January afternoon. Nice sunny January afternoon. Thanks very much, guys. I'll catch you guys again next time.